It is pretty common to end up stuck in a big legacy project with no room to explore the new features added on a regular basis in the framework you are working with. It's also common to get FOMO because of all these new libraries, promising to improve the whole dev experience through groundbreaking ideas and revolutionary concepts. Don't worry though, I have great news for you. Thanks to a dedicated dev team, you can leverage the stability of a mature, widely adopted framework like React, while also enjoying better performance and a state-of-the-art dev experience.
Thank you!
React is constantly reinventing itself in order to stay ahead of the competition. You don't believe me? Let's review 7 of its most notable recent updates, and you'll see that React is still relevant in this rapidly changing web environment. First, let's look at Concurrent mode. This is a behind-the-scenes update introduced in V18, which has major performance implications. Let me explain why. Concurrent mode is an update of React's core rendering model, which now allows the framework to prepare multiple versions of your UI at the same time. Compare this with older versions where UI updates were packed in a single uninterrupted transition, which meant that when the rendering started, no event or action was able to interrupt it until the user saw the end result on the screen. With concurrent rendering, this is not the case anymore. React may start rendering an update, pause in the middle to prioritize more important updates, then continue the paused update later. Thanks to this rework, features like Suspense are now more powerful. The Suspense use case is straightforward. The component lets you display a fallback until all the code and data needed by the children has been loaded. Note, however, that Suspense can't detect when data is fetched inside an effect or event handler, so your child data source has to be Suspense enabled. In short, this is either a component marked as lazy or a promise wrapped around a new experimental use hook. The new useTransition hook is another great result of this core rendering refactoring. So you can now prioritize workloads in your UI and render the parts of your app which are more important to the user first. The hook returns any pending flag used to monitor if the workload was processed, and a start transition function you can also use as standalone outside component boundaries. In this example, I want users to have a smooth user experience while they are typing, so I'm decoupling the rendering of the input value from other work that needs to be done as a result of the input change. I'm pretty sure we all end up building apps where keystrokes were lagging in the UI, and now we can easily fix such problems. And since we are talking about great UX, let's take a look at the new experimental useOptimistic hook. Thanks to this feature, we can now make our apps snappier by updating the UI in an optimistic manner. Imagine we are implementing a like button which also displays the current number of likes. We'll use the count state value as the source of our optimistic hook and then display it in the DOM. When the user clicks on the button, the optimistic count will be increased and the user will get some immediate visual feedback. Then, when the update is propagated to the server, the real value is updated and all the syncing between the two values is performed behind the scenes. Next, let's switch gears and look at some new hooks aimed to improve our dev experience. Working with forms is a common practice in front-end development. While frameworks like Angular offer great support through their reactive forms implementation, we have to rely on third-party libraries when working with forms in React. However, with the new useFormState and useFormStatus hooks, we can get more control over the various states of the form submission process, and we can better integrate the component state with the form's action results. This wouldn't be a React update video if we didn't address the elephant in the room: React server components. This is yet another major effort aimed to optimize the way data is fetched from the server, computed, and presented in the UI. Just like many others before it, React reached the same conclusion. Moving components on the server has some clear performance benefits, ranging from being closer to the data source to being able to avoid passing external dependencies to the client for specific scenarios. Server components have to be combined with client components whenever interactivity is needed in the UI. For those keeping count, this is not SSR, so add yet another rendering strategy to the whole mix of options currently available. The server can be leveraged not only for retrieving data. With server actions, functions annotated with useServer can be passed as form submission handlers. As a result, we can now handle forms with zero JavaScript to achieve quicker app load times and better performance over slow networks. So React has a lot going for it. It is widely adopted and enjoys a dev team dedicated to keep the framework relevant. However, React is held back by a complicated reactivity model and a bloated codebase. So, if you are starting a new project, here are some other frameworks which might be better suited for the current dev and performance expectations.